Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and this is episode 520C with Fr3deR1cK Taylor, better known as Frederick and Jeff Shoot the Shit part... Oh crap, what part is it? It's actually part 5, because of course, this fifth time we talked for 3 hours and 39 minutes, so I split it up to 3 podcasts, 520 A, B, and C. This is C. So if you didn't hear A and B, you might want to go back and listen to them. But honestly, we're just shooting the shit. You can go in what any order you want. Without further ado, here we go.
People have a problem with American culture, even though they created it and built it. They were the ones that came over here and they said, okay, we're going to kill all of the indigenous people, and then we're going to flood it with all of these people from Europe, and then we're going to also get these people from Africa. We're going to steal them, and we're going to make them come here and help build this land, and then we're going to have all of these different people of different backgrounds, but we don't support the idea of unity between all of these different people of different backgrounds. We still want the same divisive nature that we came from in Europe. It's all a lie. You know, they fled tyranny to create tyranny. It's such a bizarre
They fled
notion.
debtor's prison and indentured servitude and got here and said, well, we need some servants. we need
Exactly.
free labor.
So
we need some cheap labor.
Exactly. So, and they've never changed that, and they've just peed on a lot of people and told them that it's raining, and they expect us to fall in line, and they think that they can overpay people to keep them under control. You know,
and really, that's the reason I brought up my youth in SoCal was to say that like it needs to be defended as vehemently as people who grew up in South Africa who thought that apartheid was the right thing.
And again,
it's pretty obvious that that's somebody wants us to bring apartheid here.
Oh yeah, they're all about it. That's coming.
Like literally,
and people are looking the other way. People that I thought that were my friends, that cared about me, that respect me. No, they don't. They just ignore that aspect of it. You know, and I do think that the people that grew up here need to defend this position a little bit more based on what has gone on here over the past 50, 60 years. You know, and it's sad that this isolationist attitude that comes out of California, and in particular, you know, Los Angeles, and more specific, the entertainment business that is Hollywood. They're a bunch of isolationist assholes. They're like, oh, if you're here, then you're okay. You can hang with us. Isn't this fun? You can be at the party. But then once again, inside of that, here comes the caste system. Who are you? Are you important? Are you pretty enough, sexy enough? Can I have sex with you or whatever? You got any drugs? You got any cocaine or whatever? Like you got to have something.
Everyone you're talking to at a party or whatever, bar, right, restaurant, is looking past you to see if someone more important and more helpful is behind.
Right, because if they're looking at you, they want to fuck you. Like, if you don't have what they want at a material level, it's the only time they're looking at you is when they want to have sex with you. You know? And so this place...
There is an advantage to being sexy.
Oh, without question, There is a massive advantage to being sexy. And that's just with the guys. I mean, everybody has to be sexy here. There's this eliteness about looks that's here. And you can get somewhere and you can do something if you are willing to embrace that. You know, it was probably one of my biggest downfalls when I lived here is that I didn't exploit the delightful, attractive, dark-skinned man look thing that people love here. People love fucking having sex in LA with white people. Yeah, I mean, like, we should laugh about it.
Being flirty can get you in rooms, huh?
Me and other cute black men, we would talk, and we would be like, it is unbelievable how many people want to have sex with us. It's just that we live in sexual energy. And then right next to us are all the Asian women, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's crazy. I'm so tired. Right, it is. It's like Asian women, black men, and then they are fetishized, and then everyone else falls in behind that. You know, a certain celebrity that will remain nameless. I mean, she walks up to me at a party and she says, oh, you're the most interesting guy in here. I mean, if they see you, they just open up on you. If they decide, ooh, I like that. That looks good.
And interesting means I'd like to use you briefly and discard you.
I've had friends that are Asian that are female, and we talk about it when we go to like parties and stuff like that. We socially negate ourselves by hanging out. Like we can't hang out near each other at a party because an Asian woman and a black man can't hang out because then we're negating each other. People won't come up and talk to us because people think the Asian girl's with the black guy and people think the black guy's with the Asian girl. So then no one talks. Exactly. Exactly. And then the minute that we split up at the party, then everybody talks to us. You know, it's messed up.
That would be a pretty interesting short film.
Oh, it's hilarious. It would be an amazing, film or short film or
I can only think of one festival that would show it.
Exactly. There's only one.
There's certainly more than one, but
maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, let's walk down this path here. All of a sudden, we make a short film, and it's about an Asian woman and a black man who are buddies. They live in Los Angeles, and they go to a party, some Hollywood party or whatever, and no one talks to them.
Yeah, until they move apart.
And then suddenly they both become the belles of the ball, as long as they're not together, and then it's discovered at the end of the party that they actually do know each other and they are together, and then all
are married
or whatever,
with kids.
And all of their opportunities totally fall apart.
But they get in the car and they're like, okay, I got these 3 meetings. Oh, I got these.
Right, exactly, and they're hustling essentially, and they're
That'd be maybe a series, but
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be a great series. I think it'd be really good. It'd be really interesting, and that is the kind of film that you would screen at your film festival, but I'm not sure necessarily it would be screened at other film festivals or they would necessarily get it. I don't know if it would even be screened at a black film festival. I don't even know if it would be screened at an Asian film festival. I'm not sure. What kind of film festival would screen it? Or a major film festival? Are you thinking Sundance? Are you thinking Tribeca? Only if there are famous people in it. They have some stars. Is Ali Wong going to be in it? It's that kind of bullshit. That's the game. And that's the other part of being ethnic in this town that sucks ass, is that you have to be famous. But to get famous, you have to do something. And so many of my friends said it before. They're like, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have dropped a hip-hop album in the 90s, and it would have made a clearer path for me to be successful in this business. They care about what you've done and are you or are you not famous? And that is the dumbest standard ever.
It is dumb. Capitalism-wise, I do understand a movie producer is just seeing fame and famousness as marketable.
Completely. It's a big ticket item.
But
yes,
you got to nurture the next star so that
they don't want
you
to.
can make money off them. But that's good. But that's if you understand farming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they don't.
You know what I mean?
Dumb
you need a minor league so that you can have your big hitter.
You're right. But it's illogical. They don't develop people anymore. Prince made 4 or 5 albums before he got to the ones that really hit, 1999 and Purple Rain. That's not going to happen anymore. You got to be a hit right out the gate now.
Yeah,
we don't develop artists anymore. Yeah, I mean, we don't develop actors anymore.
It is like it, as a fairly, I'm a music person, and it worries me that there really is no way for young musical talent
to grow.
To get into the marketplace and
because no one's going to support him. No one's going to say hey, we're going to
listen to U2's early albums. They were pretty weak too.
They're weak.
Yeah,
they were pretty weak. Until
they
war.
Got good by the third one.
Yeah, until war, they were nobody. I was like whatever, Yeah. And
then they were good for about 3.
If we're going to be honest with ourselves, and all artists have to evolve. All artists have to develop, and you've got to give them some time, and we don't want to do that anymore. You listen to early Stones stuff, you're like, ugh, God, they're covering all these old blues tunes, and you're like,
Well, they didn't know who they were.
They didn't know who they were.
They actually didn't know who they were till the Beatles broke up.
Exactly. I was gonna say early 70s. It took the Beatles breaking up for them to figure out who they were.
Yeah, for them to go, we don't have to stop trying to be like our friends.
Right. And exactly. It took the dissemination of Motown records for soul music to find its soul. because I'm not saying that it had compromised itself in the 1960s, but it spent a lot of time trying to appeal to the general market. And I'm not saying that those songs from Motown in the 60s aren't amazing and eternal and wonderful, and they were and they are, but it's not until the 70s where you get that gut soul music that really reaches out and grabs you, and it feels uniquely black for a black audience. And if you have the ability to be able to appreciate it, good for you. And if you can't, fuck you. That's what makes the passing recently of Roberta Flack so significant. You know, there are certain Roberta Flack tracks that you're like, that's Roberta Flack. Oh my God. And those were 70s tunes. And there's some amazing black music from the 70s that is completely paralleled with what black musicians were doing in the 40s and 50s with blues and underground soul that got skipped over in the 60s because Barry and Smokey invented a machine that allowed white people in to really appreciate it, you know? And by the 70s,
it kicked
because they killed all their leaders. Yeah, like, I mean, come on, 68. The 60s ended in 68. You know, 69 is just a whatever year to get to 70, you know? And then the world was just a completely different place. You know, the political discourse of the times was influencing the art and culture as well. You know, and the survivability of people as far as self-expression was concerned. I mean, what Marvin Gaye became in the 70s is remarkable in comparison to where he started. You know, and bravo! I'm glad that he evolved as an artist, and I'm glad that Stevie Wonder evolved. I mean, Stevie Wonder became Stevie Wonder in the 70s. You know, in the 60s, he was little Stevie Wonder, and he's a really cutesy, you know, artist on the Motown label. You know, Michael Jackson evolved into a sophisticated artist as well in the late 70s into the 80s.
I'm a huge fan of what George Clinton did.
George Clinton was another one. Did you listen to early Clinton? Yeah, when he's like the straight-laced guy
trying to make money.
Exactly.
He's trying to break in.
It's hilarious.
And he finally said, "Fuck this," and
started doing his thing.
Parliament and Funkadelic.
Exactly. And funk is not a 60s phenomena. Funk is a 70s phenomena. Period. Is anchored, rooted completely and totally in the 70s. Hip hop starts in the 70s. A revolution happens because there was a revolution at large. And blacks were broken emotionally and psychologically and spiritually from the 1960s. And they had to pivot.
At the very end of the 60s.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the greatest pivots of all time. And these white people now that are all these crackers and these racists and all this other fucking shit, they don't know. Black people going to pivot. And they're going to pivot into something that's going to make them really fucking uncomfortable. You know? We have hip hop because you treated black people like shit in the 60s. We have funk because you treated black people like shit in the 60s. And you treating black people like shit again, they're going to do something else on you. And it's not just going to be black people. It's going to be everybody that has that type of sensibility. And I like to call it the Rosa Parks bus. Who's on the Rosa Parks bus? You're on the Rosa Parks bus. I'm on the Rosa Parks bus. You know, there's a lot of people on the Rosa Parks bus. And when we make this pivot, without them, they're going to be butthurt and they're going to be trying to wonder what we're doing, and we don't need them. This illusion that we have to like operate and orbit in their world is ridiculous. That's why Trump now is saying like, oh, we're going to make it illegal for you to protest against Tesla. We're going to make it illegal, you know, for you to be able to have protests on college campuses, and we're going to arrest you and all that sort of stuff. They have to. But that's not going to stop it. And I already have friends that are in Washington, D.C. that, you know, have been working diligently for decades in Washington, D.C. that are already saying, they've told me, Fred, take your shit into the underground. Just go be a revolutionary. Go be in the underground. Do not worry about trying to fight this good fight above ground. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of ammunition. What's going to happen in the Ukraine? They're going to go underground. They're going to come up with a whole other way to be able to fight back against the Russian army. If that's house to house, whatever, if that's like laying mines out in the middle of the street and blowing these guys up, that's what they're going to do. this idea that human beings just roll over and take it is
it is
always
nonsense.
been a misnomer and a fallacy. It's not true. It's not true. Even Jews fought back. Every moment they had the opportunity to fight back, they did.
Against
Black people
something
fought
as
for that.
huge as the Roman Empire.
Exactly. Africans fought to save their continent at all times. They didn't just give it to them. To get the Belgian Congo, it was bloody.
Yeah, you brought up Ukraine. It's funny it didn't come up till now, but we should let it lie. Yeah. But I have to say, I have to get it off my chest. I guess I'm a liar. I reverted immediately.
Yes.
From the effort to not discuss Ukraine
To discussing Ukraine.
because I'm jumping on my soapbox and saying that one of the things that angers me most about Biden was that when he lost last November, that he didn't throw all the money and guns he possibly could to them. Should have given him everything because he knew the plug was going to get pulled. And instead, he just ran around pardoning his kids and shit. And instead of saying, you know what, the Ukrainian people are about to get fucked, let's let them win now. They could have won right away. Now, you're absolutely right that it's not going to work. No invasion works. It takes a year. It takes a decade. People will rise up. Kurdistan came back after a century. So it's like Ukrainian people are going to kick the Russians out eventually. Might have to wait till the European Union actually becomes the European Union that maybe it was always supposed to be. And I have heard that argument that we are kind of fucked by our current leadership, but it's just going to lead to leadership elsewhere.
Right, exactly. And we have all of these poorly misinformed people in America that think, oh, that's a good idea. Like, they should be able to support themselves. We shouldn't be supporting them anymore, And they don't understand this is what has kept the peace and kept free trade for 80 years. And so you actually think that America is sustainable on its own as its own isolated entity. No, you're not going to have the same goods and services that you've grown so accustomed to as well. But they're not going to understand that until they're faced with it.
There is one interesting thing to add on to that, which is that I do find the fact that we have someone with a second term after 4-year break.
Right.
I mean, starting as a lame duck on day one with no continuity, he really doesn't give a fuck what people think. He actually really is willing to drive us into a recession because he can't run again anyway, so who cares?
But he's going to make a bunch of money off of it, and it's going to keep him out of jail. Like, that's the thing.
Oh, no,
and so
I know
he's going to win
in the end. He wants to.
But...
And I know why I mean, look, the reason why Putin's cock is in his mouth is that, and I don't mean to be, I hope that didn't come
vulgar.
Across as vulgar and homophobic.
It is disrespectful to the gay community.
So I want to take that metaphor back and just say the reason why he's giving Putin everything he possibly can, I'm pretty sure it's just, Putin's the wealthiest man on earth. It's not Elon. Elon has a net worth based on stock value, but he's cash poor. Putin is an organized criminal. He has cash. So Putin is the only person alive who really can look at the $7 billion or whatever that Trump owes at Deutsche Bank and just write it off. So I actually think that's the main reason why he's giving Russia everything it wants, is to get his debt burden relieved before he's because he can keep himself, he can keep himself out of jail. But he also has to kind of get rid of the debt. And I think that's the only reason why he's doing any of this.
He also might be a Russian cell.
He might be a Russian cell. I think it's just about the money. But we could both be right.
There's room for both of us to be right on that.
There's room for us to both be right.
Yeah. Well, and I think
the one thing we do know is that no American who believes in the ideals established in the Constitution of the United States of America should be okay with the United States of America supporting the Russian Federation over a democracy. It's amazing. And maybe we'll talk in 6 months about the handful of Republican senators who finally Because there's a couple have actually said things like,
Well, why do you think there are people that are willing to be on the conservative side of things and they're okay with supporting Russia right now? Because a lot of them are thinking, oh, well, they're just,
they're still afraid of Trump. They're still afraid of being primary.
Well, they seem to oddly trust the process. They think that there's something up their sleeve. This is gamesmanship. That you got to ride this out. Where we're playing we're playing chess here with the Russians to win in the end, and it's very arrogant. And it's so funny because the people that say this to me are usually ignorant rednecks. You know what I mean? That don't travel poorly.
They still think that Trump is tough on Russia.
Oh yeah, like they think that Trump is running the table.
Because that is literally what people said to me was, I have a black friend who voted for Trump.
Who doesn't?
Because he literally said to me, well, I don't trust Kamala to take on Putin. Like, she just doesn't have what it takes.
Did you ask him when was the last time you got laid?
And no, I didn't.
So you got to come back. You got to come back.
I said
you need a little earpiece in your ear.
Trump has already proven that he gives Putin anything. Like, she's a tough ass prosecute. She'll definitely be tougher on Putin. But they don't.
They believe whatever narrative they want to believe. They believe whatever narrative they want to believe. And I know black people that look at you and say Jeff Bezos. So people believe what
you were there for that.
I was there for that. People just tell themselves whatever they need to tell themselves in the moment. And that's sad, and that's pathetic, and that is extraordinarily disappointing.
It is, but it's just ignorance.
And it is bliss.
I guess so.
For them, yeah, they're happy about it. They think it's funny. They think that they're so clever. They're so ironic. He is not getting the best of Putin by any way, shape, or form. Putin is getting the best of him.
He's laughing.
He's laughing, exactly. And eventually, he's going to be faced with that reality. But the issue is not going to be with him. It's going to be with us. Are we prepared to deal with kicking this guy off the throne and defanging him in order to save this country? And I don't know. And we just have a lot of really foolish people that float from the middle to the right, flooding the right as nationalists who are just ready to ride or die with this guy. And I think that's
if
sad
ready
and
to ride or die, that's
pathetic,
tough.
And we, as the others, need to step away from these people as far as possible because I don't want to be hit with any shrapnel. And I'm not interested in saving them or doing anything for them or trying to make points about them or saying that they're this or they're that or they're bad or whatever. And it goes all the way back to pre-existing freedom. It's introspection. I mean, that's what I've learned about. I was doing something at the time. I wasn't even totally aware of what I was doing. And now with some time between myself and that project, now I really see it, that I had already abandoned ship. I was already looking inward, trying to find the answers. I was tired of being the smart, intelligent, articulate black guy that ran around going like, no, you guys should try it this way. We can all get along. Here, let's hold hands. Let's try to figure this out. Here's my Jewish friend, Jeff. I'm done with that. Like, I'm tired of trying to convince people of the obvious. Hey, you better tie your shoes or you're going to trip and fall and hurt yourself. Look both ways before you cross the street. You should lift up the toilet seat. Wash your hands after you're coming out of the bathroom. I mean, just basic shit people should know. And they don't want to do it. And that's on them. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to be vaccinated. On and on and on and on and on. And I'm just like tired of it. I don't want to hear it anymore. And all these clowns that he's appointed to run different departments in our country, and they're not qualified. And all of these like dumb conservatives that are willing to look the other way on that, they're fools. They're fools. They're absolute fools. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, if I was president of the United States, I wouldn't, hire RuPaul to be Secretary of the Interior, even though he's a personal friend of mine and whatever, and we get along really great, and he's a TV star, and let's put him in there. No, he's not qualified. And he's a raging liberal, but he's not qualified. No, he can't have the job. What's so hard about that? And that now we have to get rid of women and minorities that are woke or that, that allegedly
Not even
think
if
about
they're woke, even if they're
just women and
super
minorities.
qualified, they actually, they laid it out. Was it last week or the week before? And I'm forgetting the Joint Chief of Staff's name. But when they said, well, he's got a great career and he's always done a great job, but because he's black, he might have been a DEI hire. We don't know if he's really the best.
Yeah, they just want to get us.
Isn't that what JD said about him?
Yeah, he did. They just want to get black people out of there. That's fine. I'm leaving. Bye. I've already left the building.
It's amazing, though. It's amazing to me.
They never
that
wanted
it's
us there in the first place, and I'm sorry that all of these lies I was told as a kid. If I work hard, I'll have a place in this society. I don't believe it anymore. All of my crazy old black and Jewish radical older mentor people that were around me were right. They were all old. Remember those old crotchety people, old and bitter?
The ones who told you,
it's a waste of time, kid. What are you doing? Don't worry about them, Oh, no, it's different now, It's the 1990s.
It's arcing towards justice.
We are on the way to running into a giant iceberg is what's really happening here. And so I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I don't care what they think. I'm going to do what I want to fucking do. And I can tell people are already curbing their behavior around me, how they like things on my social media, what they do like, what they don't like, what they're silenced about. I occasionally get a random direct message from an asshole who doesn't like me and they have to tell me, or they put something on my social media and I don't even take it off. I leave it on so they can just look like a dickhead on my social media. It's like I could do a whole spoken word act and read the things that people have said about me. And some of these people are actually famous people from LA too. It's bad, dude. People do not like certain types of people. And this, and you deal with them on your level too. You're a likable guy who's smart and equitable, and people get uncomfortable with that sometimes.
I guess, but I don't get the, I'm not a worthy target to try to knock down. You know what I mean? No one ever shits on my shit because they just don't bother. Eventually, they could change.
Maybe. Based on levels of success and in some of the goals that you have.
I suppose, yeah. If shit,
and what you continue to program into your festival, this year is going to be very telling for your festivals as well, based on what you're going to program.
We're going to have some really good shit.
Okay, that's my point, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
No, in fact, there was a film I saw last week, and it's an episode of a series. But I shouldn't talk about it, but I'm 99% sure it's going to be in because I'm sure the rest of the jury is going to love it. And it was actually it's about the history of black people in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And it's actually a deep, amazing history, including where the Rose Garden is, where the Trailblazers play, that whole development, that was the black community that got eminent domain razed to the ground so they could build this sports and entertainment complex. And it's a great documentary. And it's great. We tell everyone with a series, only give us one episode. And then when someone gives us 6, I'm like, you don't know how to read. But anyway, they gave us one episode. And I was so impressed with it. I was like, I can't wait for people to see this.
Yeah. Yeah. So eventually you're going to trip the wire, and
so eventually
and the one that does explode in your face is not going to be the one that you had anticipated exploding in your face either.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But then if I matter enough for someone to want to hurt me, then I guess I'll be okay.
You'll matter. I don't want any harm to come to you. I think you'll matter enough that suddenly you will get into the zeitgeist of discussion and conversation as well. And all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh yeah, that film festival showed that film that did that thing, that there you are, discussing it and talking about it as well, which is important, and I think very much that's where you're headed as well. You know,
hopefully we'll see. We will see.
We'll see. We
will
will
see.
No, you're gonna drift into the abyss and be forgotten, Jeff. No one's ever gonna know.
Well, in theory, that's what's supposed to happen with a curator. Is the curator doesn't matter?
But it's a new world order. It's a different world. I mean, you could do something at your film festival that could get on the radar with our favorite president or his cronies or whatever that makes them feel bad, look bad, that all of a sudden you're a target, you know?
That'd be wild.
It would be wild, you know. The Fusion Festival in, you know, Los Angeles, these people are terrible people. It's a disaster. Jeff Howard is a total disaster. And yeah, it's totally possible. Because you run some particular film that is against their standards, you know. And it could be a film like that, or it could be something involving, you know, gender or gender identity, or something along the lines of, you know, the religious order or the war in Ukraine or whatever. Like, you're one fucking, like, someone sends you fucking something, and somebody made a film in the Ukraine that's just like inside of the inside of the inside, and somehow it finds its way to you. You're going to be like, oh, we have to run that.
No, we showed it last year.
Okay, that's
and then I did a podcast with the producer.
Right.
And she was in Kyiv.
Yeah.
And Kyiv, I think she told me to pronounce it Kyiv.
Kyiv.
By the way, she's someone who spoke Russian, and then now they all speak Ukrainian. Now they've all... But we hopped on Zoom because she had electricity that day. And I got to talk to someone for an hour and a half who...
Had electricity.
Lives there and is in it. And I was just... It's affected me so much.
Oh, completely. I have a friend here. I met her when I was at the Cannes Film Festival. She's moved here with her boyfriend. They're from Kyiv. And she recently lost her father back in the Ukraine as well. And she's terribly heartbroken and very sad about it, too. And I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how to console people on that level, you know? And I wish I could, you know? And I don't know what to do sometimes. And the only thing I have is to just continue to be the best person that I can be and try to celebrate all people. But it's taught me something about like where I am as a filmmaker and what I can impact too. Neither one of us are Ukrainian, but we both have the opportunities to be able to elevate their voices. And so why not?
My maternal grandparents were from
Ukraine.
Odessa.
You're going to pull a Ukrainian card on me?
Well, there's a lot of Ukrainians who would not consider Ukrainian Jews Ukrainian. Believe me, when they ran out of Odessa in 1897, it wasn't because they were wanted there.
No,
you know what I mean?
True.
It's not like, but this woman actually, she was like. When I told her that, she's like, "Oh, my grandfather. She's actually 1/4 Jewish, living in Ukraine today." And she's like, "You have to come. You have to visit." And I'm like, "I will, but I don't know when."
Not now.
Definitely can't come. But yeah, it was. That might be. No, that's not why I'm so worked up about it. I mean, I'm worked up about it because it's
human interest. It's humanity. It's lives in the balance.
There's never been a more clear-cut case of good and evil.
Not since World War II.
For me, yeah.
Yeah, like where it's just like this is complete, and it's bullying to the umpteenth degree.
It's unfathomable.
And completely and totally unnecessary, and it's a land grab. And it's genocidal. It's a genocidal land grab.
It's a genocidal land grab, and it's senseless. And Biden is gonna not look good at all in the history books.
He'll look okay. He won't be the worst.
No, because we thought it could be their Vietnam. We thought it could be their Afghanistan again. And so we gave him just enough to break even. And...
We just miscalculated. Well, I mean, we miscalculated.
Well, he thought he apparently thought he'd win re-election.
He did.
He thought he could support them longer this way, but that's how out of touch he was. He
had a run there where initially getting in, he was there to save the union, and he did. And unfortunately, somewhere in the journey of the 4 years of him being president, he thought, I can win again. I can do this again. And he started to pivot, and he got off track, and it ruined him in the end. And in the end, it also ruined the party.
Ruined the party and possibly the nation.
It's ruined the nation,
Yeah.
To a certain degree. Not something that is permanent and profound, but it feels really uncomfortable. It's like riding in a plane with really bad turbulence
I've
or on the
asked
high seas.
myself, why is he not speaking?
Because I think he might have some challenges that are health related.
Yeah.
Which is another part of this as to why he should have just never thought for a second he could make another 4 years.
And his staff and his family needed to step up in 2023.
It should have been
And
something.
tell him during 2023, you don't run again.
It should have been really quiet, and it should have been stick to the game plan, stick to the plan, stick to the plan, stick to the plan.
It.
And they had 4 years to be able to tee it up with whomever they thought it was going to be. They decided to put Harris in that slot. I think that under the right set of circumstances, she could have been the best choice. But the problem is that they're not reading the room very well. Sadly, we're not ready for women in that position. And I think that they probably should have picked, a man to be VP with Biden at that particular time and possibly teed it up with a man to succeed him in 4 years. Possibly.
But at the very least...
So you think,
just as Trump went through a kind of a hilarious primary season,
right,
where people thought maybe DeSantis might take him down,
no,
maybe Nikki might take him down.
That's why he didn't
do
it.
But the whole point is if Harris had gone through a primary,
sure, you think she would have won? You think she would have won the primary?
Probably not.
Who would have
based
won?
on what I know of her?
Who? Based on what you know, because of her personality,
because of her inability to connect with the public.
Is that a particular flaw that can be corrected?
Maybe she could have won the primary, but she deserved the chance to have a primary with the advantage of being the sitting vice president and then get to the end. And then she wouldn't have been an unknown entity that people I know chose to stay home and not vote.
No, I mean, I totally get that. I have never felt that she was the right choice. And that's,
I don't
that's
disagree. Although my bigger problem is once again with the boomer who said when he won the nomination, or before he won the nomination, he literally said, I don't know who my running mate will be, but I can promise you it'll be a woman of color. And I was like, you say it'll be the most qualified person so that when you choose a woman of color, you were saying this is the most qualified, but he's such a boomer. He literally labeled her that before selecting her.
White Christian liberals jump the shark on race all the fucking time because it's they get so excited to be able to say, it's me, I'm the one that's going to free us, and I'm the one that's bringing equality, and I'm the one that's going to help us. And it's just like, can you please just be a little bit more tactical about this? They can't. They get to, this is my friend Fred, he's my best friend, and we're hanging out, and some of my best friends are black, and you're racist, and all that. They do that shit all the time.
All the time.
All the time. That's just their move.
But to me, that's what. But yeah, she didn't make it. I agree with you. She was the wrong choice. I agree.
I just think so. I just think she wasn't, this was not her time. There was plenty of time for her down the line. I'm not sure that I want it to be a woman. I really do. I've wanted a female president for a very long time. But what I have learned is that when you get into the voting booth, there are a lot of people that are just afraid. They just have a problem with female leadership. They really do. We have a very sexist country. Now, I think we can fix that. I think we can repair that. But I think all of the systems need to be in place. I felt Hillary was a bad choice because she had been the first lady. And I think the idea of a first lady becoming a president is kind of not a good idea. It's a very poor precedent.
Democratic.
No, it's not a good precedent. And so we need to be able to develop some politicians that are female that are coming through the ranks that are politicians and they're not connected to their husbands in that way. And I just think, Vice President Harris but she just wasn't necessarily the right person for that time. If I had to gamble and I had to go back in the time machine and roll the dice again, and it had to be a person of color as vice president and had to be a woman of color, it would have been Keisha Lance Bottoms. And I said that to people over and over and over again. I'd take Keisha Lance Bottoms every time over Kamala Harris. I like Keisha Lance better. That's my opinion. But maybe I'm biased because I'm from Atlanta, but I think and I've met her and I've been around her, I think she's way more presidential and she's way more connected to people and she knows how to work a room. That's my opinion. And I think that the job should have been given to her.
I'm even forgetting who gave Biden the biggest challenge in the primary.
Maybe there's a point to that.
Because I remember I was thinking Cory Booker for VP.
Cory Booker is not the guy.
You don't like him?
You know why I don't like Cory Booker is because the people who do get sort of trapped in Cory Booker's charisma and someone said something to me that I didn't really like. Well, he's a really nice black guy that doesn't come across as angry. And I had a problem with that. Like, I want my politicians at times to have a little bit of an edge to them and be a little bit angry, And Cory Booker was just not my guy. I see him as a statesman. I see him as a senator, as a congressman, as someone in a cabinet position, maybe a VP. I don't know. But as just off the top running for president, no. I think he's got to come through the system. I think that there's a certain amount of autocorrect. And I think that he had a similar problem that Kamala had is well, that they just weren't ready and they didn't know how to connect with people. And all the people I know that liked Cory Booker were just these like uber ultra liberal people that at times would criticize me, but you need to be more like Cory Booker. You need to be more like Cory Booker. You need to talk more like Cory Booker. You need to not be so angry. You need to be more like Cory. I don't think it's the time or the place for any of us to be soft. I think that we have to be edgier and hard, and we have to be able to stand up. Now, that was one of the things about Harris that I did like. She was tough, but she didn't know how to turn it off and then be able to go talk to the regular people as well. And I just think that's just experience. She just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And he was just obsessed with, I'm going to have a woman of color because that was the trend. But that trend was an illusion. It wasn't real. This idea that like black women, it's their time, their place or whatever. And black women, they got behind that as well. And they're like pounding their fists in the air and things like that. And a lot of my black female friends, I said, slow down. You're running with this a little bit too hard. You're going to hurt yourself. You're not staying with the pack. We're all in this together. You can't run in here and save us. We're down by 10 in the fourth quarter and you want to start shooting threes. No, let's run the offense. They didn't want to do that. And it just became really sexy to say, we're hanging with black women because black women are so tough and they don't take shit off people or whatever. And it's not that you take shit off people. You have to know how to negotiate inside of the margins. And you just can't like turn on your black woman, angry personality or angry look or edgy looking down on you like you're at the DMV and you just want to get your license updated. And I know that's really mean to say, but it's just to make a point and I can get away with it because I'm black and I will take on any people that have a problem with me saying that. But that's not going to work. Sometimes you have to kill it with kindness. Sometimes you have to be able to navigate in those spaces. And we needed someone that was more quippy and clever. Keisha Lance Bottoms, she has that ability. She could have handled him a lot better. She was younger. She's way more interesting. She's fun. She's smart. She's entertainment royalty. and she's adorable. I think she would have. I think she would have given him more of a run for his money, and I think he would have been way more scared of her. Harris just does not know how to deal with an asshole because her first inclination is to punch them in the face. She's an edgy DA. Great. But that doesn't make you president of the United States. That's the difference. And that's one of the things that...
She should have stayed on the track to become California governor after Gavin.
Exactly. And the black woman, movement of we're going to run everything and save everybody. Dude, it's got a flat tire now. Nobody wants to hear from black women right now. Nobody cares. And I don't know if they're going to even be able to make a comeback. It chased away a lot of black men. There's so many black men that I know that are mad at black women, because of that. Because they're so bossy. And so some of this wave of black men running over to the Trump side is more of a reaction to their anger with black women than necessarily they really believe in Trump as well. And people don't understand there's an intercultural war going on with black men and black women. And it's been around for hundreds of years because they were separate and segregated during slavery. The women were abused and raped and thrown into the house and all this other stuff. And then the men were forced into the fields, and it was a terrible situation for both parties involved. And families were split apart, and everybody knows that, there's a lot of challenges in the black family dynamic and things like that. And all of those things spill into, trying to negotiate, a political position. But we also know that black people are important to the conversation and the discourse of this society, which both sides acknowledge. But the second that the Republicans can abandon it, they will. And I think that they did at this last speech when he said, no more critical race theory and no more DEI. They're like, black people, get out of here. Who cares? And then they hoist up this little black kid and, and knight him in the Secret Service. And they're like, okay, we've done our job. And that's good. We're good. That's it. That's it. But there's no respect. Then they're going to pull up the Black Lives Matter Plaza. They're going to spend money for that, But then they're going to cut a program for black people. It's crazy. It's just, I don't know what to do anymore. I just know that I need to do what I need to do and do what I'm good at and just kind of let the chips fall where they may,
Yeah, that's the only prescription, is to do what we can.
Right.
And whatever that is. And I was going to add the little bit of, and just fucking demand that everyone in your orbit votes every time. But
some will, some won't.
Some will, and
some
won't.
That's just kind of the beginning and the end of it.
I sometimes wonder. Yeah, I couldn't have persuaded anybody.
Right. But I don't want to have anything to do with liberals who don't vote. I don't care anymore. I want them out of my life.
Yeah.
As much as I want the conservatives that don't want to see the value in me as well. I want them out of my life. And I'm tired of all of these neutral people. And I'm becoming exhausted even with people of color that want to sit there in the middle and say, it doesn't matter, it's all about love, and we can all hang out, and we'll just all... I don't want to hear that either. I'm tired. I'm really sick of it. And then there are just people of color who don't like conflict.
Mm-hmm.
They just flat out don't like conflict. And I don't know how they're going to survive, and I don't know how they're going to make it, and I don't know how they're going to be able to get what they want out of life. They're just going to be cheapened.
They're going to let someone else fight the fight.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like two of my favorite podcasts involve Fr3deR1cK and Fr3deR1cK. And
yeah.
I listened to these two brilliant men.
They're awesome. Yeah.
These two brilliant Indian men.
Mm-hmm.
And the fights that they will take on. And I'm grateful. But when you tell me about people of color sitting back and being neutral, I'm like, God, thank God these
guys aren't. And what if they...
And they're scholars.
I know.
They're fucking brilliant.
I know. And then eventually, Trump might have them jailed.
Yeah.
He wants to kill CNN. He wants to kill, CBS. I mean, he's made overtures towards that, like literally eliminating entire, communication networks because they don't align with his policies.
He's
He's a
absolutely. All right, something just popped up on your phone?
Yes, I did, and it's from our favorite president of our favorite country. Trump is calling for MSNBC to be shut down. And I quote, his quote, they shouldn't have the right to broadcast. They shouldn't have the right to broadcast. How about that? He thinks that he should be able to decide who can and cannot broadcast. So he could sit there and say, I don't like that Jeff and Fred podcast. I want it eliminated.
The funny thing is, I understand why he whatever, but like he's not even a capitalist when it gets down to it. He really is. Because like a capitalist would just understand, oh yeah, there's always money on the other side. Like they can make money selling at the boner pills and buy gold bars on Fox News, and then they gotta run ads on the like. Mm-hmm. Like, does he really think if MSNBC disappeared, there'd be no opposition? Like
probably. I mean, like, did Hitler really think he could invade Russia in the wintertime? He did. It didn't work out for him.
He probably had some generals telling him it
There's
would
a
work.
level of delusion that fascist dictators must have. Did Idi Amin really think it was a good idea to hijack an Israeli plane with Israelis on it? How'd that work out?
Let it land.
Exactly. How'd that work out? You think like they're not gonna come for you? Like, get the fuck out of here. That was a dumbass idea. Take an Israeli plane. That's stupid. Dictators make dumbass decisions. Napoleon, Waterloo. I mean, it's like, come on.
Yeah, they all screw up. Well,
Tony Montana in Scarface, he took on everybody and, died in the end.
Yeah. All right, so how shall we wrap it up? Anything?
Oh, we can wrap it up through, I did enter something in your Fusion Fest that's coming up in the spring. Is it the spring?
Oh, there's something entered in the June festival?
I think so. It's a
Film Invasion?
Film Invasion, yeah. There's Fusion Fest is in Orlando, Florida. Sorry, I'm confusing.
Yeah, Orlando, where
where I'm so welcome, where people love
you.
me. Exactly. I'm going through a little bit of trauma right now. Film Invasion.
Oh,
I entered a script.
I haven't come across it yet. Oh, yeah. I don't read the scripts. So.
Okay. It's a political script. You'll enjoy it immensely. It's basically fusing David Mamet and Quentin Tarantino together in a very interesting, action-packed ride of two hitmen kidnap a right-wing political black candidate, and they force him at gunpoint to change his evil ways. And he is going to address the GOP and make the sort of JFK, Martin Luther King inspired speech of his life to help change the world and create and start a social movement. And if he doesn't do it, they're going to kill him. And at first he says he's not going to do it, and then he is aggressively persuaded to do it. So he's forced to change his political views through the gun. And when he complains, they just say, "Welcome to America." They're just using the basic principles of how we founded this country to reverse all of these terrible things that are happening right now. So it's fun. It's dialogue driven, and it's very political.
Feature length?
It is a 2-form pivot again. I've written a stage play, a 2-act stage play for it, and then I also have the feature scripted version as well. I believe the featured scripted version is what was submitted to your festival.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's in June.
And so that's something. And then I'm screening another film, Third Country, which is about people coming from Burma to America, and that's screening at the Westchester Film Festival in April. as well. And then that same script I just shared with you, which is called Please Kill Robinson Scott Thomas, is also a part of the Nashville Film Festival, which will be coming up in the spring as well. I think that's June, might be May, June, something like that. Too. I don't think I'm going to go to the Cannes Film Festival this year. Kind of sad about that, but I don't think that I'm ready. Psychologically, I don't think that I'm ready. So I don't know. I don't know. There's just something about it. I didn't go last year, went the year before, so I'm just going to be not there for 2 years. But I do think I'm going to try to gear up and go next year, but I don't think I'm going to go this year as well. I just really wanted to play the game, from home. Because there's just a lot of things that I really want to do. So I'm working on a documentary called Hope and Story right now, which has been inspired by some of these talks that we've been having as well and trying to make sense of it and discussing sort of this, paradigm of the past, present, and future all colliding and trying to make sense of hope, which is what we all have, and then exactly what is our story, and within the confines of that story, where is the truth? And so that's what the documentary is really sort of focusing on as well. And then another documentary that I'm working on that's about, I interviewed a gentleman who was dying of an aggressive form of Alzheimer's a couple of years ago. And I think maybe I had mentioned that to you before. But that documentary is something I'm working on too. I did a series of interviews with him, and now we're working on all of the images that are being incorporated into that series of images. And so it's going to be more of a meditative doc. It's a little bit different, and so it's something I haven't really tried or done or focused on before. So I'm kind of excited about it. It's a little bit different, but the gentleman would have been gone for 2 years this June, but he had elected to have an assisted passing as well. So he flew from Atlanta to the Netherlands to have this done, which is extraordinary. I spent several weeks with him prior to him leaving. So this was basically a man who was suffering, that had good days, bad days. And on his good days, we would shoot and I would do these sort of talking head interviews with him. And he just talked about the meaning of life, but it's the meaning of life from someone's perspective of their passing has been time-stamped. For the rest of us, we don't know when we're going to die. But he had it all scheduled,
And he knew that's so powerful.
It is, yeah. And so
he knew. And he still had the wherewithal on the good days to know what he wanted to say before he left.
Yes.
That sounds amazing.
Yes. So
amazing.
That's where I am. And then I'm hoping to pivot into more scripted stuff as well. I'm becoming a little bit fed up with documentary work because it's hard to get people on board with it because people get scared. And so it's like, okay, if I want to do something transgendered, I should make it scripted. Then I don't have to worry about people participating in it that get, they get a little bit weak-kneed or cold feet or whatever. For whatever reason, I'm not criticizing them, but, that hurts me as a filmmaker because I don't get to complete projects. And so I want to complete these projects. And so the projects that I feel that I would need the support of the community that I'm highlighting, I'm just moving them over to scripted.
Does it feel like the ceiling on documentaries lower than the ceiling on fictional?
I definitely. Oh, sure.
Yeah. Like as much, everyone you talk to loves documentaries when they see them.
Do they?
They say they do.
They say they do?
But
exactly.
Yeah, it's very rare for a documentary to
break out. They want documentaries as long as they feel comfortable. They want documentaries as long as it makes them look good. They like documentaries as long as it doesn't make them nervous. They like documentaries as long as it's not causing any real trouble or problems or they're not bringing something onto themselves. And they still like documentaries and they want all of the same attention that you would get from a scripted film through documentary. So they still want to walk on the red carpet and they want to be popular and they want people to look at them and say they look pretty. That's not what documentaries are about. So documentaries have gotten a misrepresentation recently a falsehood, if you will. They've become Hollywoodized. And I think that that's not good in the long run because it's cannibalizing the genre And that's why documentaries that are more docudramas are becoming a little bit more popular now. And you'll see a lot more of those that are on Netflix where they do recreations. They call them recrees, you know. But I'm saying, like, that's how they're able to get around a lot of that stuff. And so I was thinking, like, I'm just going to go ahead and do scripted. Like, I'm not going to sit here and fart around in recrees. And I'm gotten tired of people that just get cold feet about documentaries. I have a documentary about women who box. It's incomplete because we ran into the same wall of this, like, okay, people were getting nervous about trying to tell the story about women in participating in combative sports. They didn't want to tell the real story. They wanted to tell the glamorous story. And then it was problematic. I had another documentary about children living in the margins in Romania who were HIV positive, who had become HIV positive due to the institutionalized collapse of the healthcare system, during the fall of Russia in the early 1990s. And then these people now are in their 20s and they're trying to live their lives and survive. And that one fell apart too because of people and their own sort of political musings and how they wanted to tell the story. And they were uncomfortable with the direction with which I was telling the story. And so if they don't like it, they'll say, you're not any good. Like, that's how people function in that space. Another one about life on the streets in Watts, California. Same thing. I'm trying to get to the heart of the matter, but, in the environment that I was working in, they were focused more on these so-called glamorous aspects of life on the streets in Watts, the Hollywoodized version of it. And their aspirations was to get to the red carpet and to be rich and famous and important and all this other stuff. And I'm like, no, I want to tell a story. I just want to tell a meaningful story. And then finally, the other fourth project that says Sitting on a Drive is all about a transgendered kid who's grown up in California that I've been following around for several years. And since the aggressive nature of the first wave of the Trump administration, without a doubt, the second one that's really put the hammer down on transgendered, it's made the individual uncomfortable and challenged as far as some of the things that the individual wants to participate in particular, like, sports for transgendered girls and things like that. And also, obviously, it's made their family uncomfortable too. So it's just like they want to keep a lower profile. Yeah. And so then I'm out. And so, like I said, I have 4 projects that I could easily sell and make work and get out there and change the world that have not seen the light of day. I can't afford to do that again. The amount of energy and effort. And I actually have a 5th project that was a scripted film about a kid who was gay that was dealing with the fractured relationship he's had with his father after his mother has passed away. And his father is trying to reconcile his broken relationship with his wife and his broken relationship with his son. And I got that on a drive as an incomplete scripted piece as well. And that one was uniquely African American. And it was getting into that weird space of the black gay male, which for whatever reason, people get really weak-kneed in the black community when we start talking about gay black males and really trying to get to the core of the matter of what they go through as people and as individuals and giving them some level of dignity. And in that space too, people didn't get it or get me or understand or have enough faith and trust. And that's what they all had in common. They didn't want to just give me the wheel and let me just land the frickin' plane. It'll be fine. Just let me do my job. People have a very narrow bandwidth and understanding of what filmmakers really do. And it's frustrating. And I'm out of the I'm working with other people game because I have 5 projects that sit on shelves that everybody got a little bit too nervous to say, let's complete these projects. And they would rather not complete the project than continue on. And it makes me sad, and I don't have relationships with any of these people either. They're gone from my life. And I thought that we were all friends here. And I guess in some way, shape, or form, we weren't really as good of friends as what I thought. because it was really important for me to once again operate within sort of preconceived notions or ideologies that they felt comfortable with. And that's not who I am as a person. And that gets very complicated for anybody that really wants to get out there and make a statement or in some small way change the world. And what I've discovered is on a micro level with these projects and on a macro level with society, I hate to tell you this, but I think a lot of people don't really want to change the world because they're afraid to change the world and they don't know what that means. And if we change the world, that means that there's a higher level of accountability for them as an individual, and people are scared of that. And I think people have always been scared of that. That's why Pilate had Jesus sent to Calvary. He's like, if I let you hang around, then, I've got to be a better person too, Jesus. So you got to go, buddy. Sorry. Kennedy had to go too. He was asking things of, our society that we didn't want to do. The military was against Kennedy. The military wanted to go in and blow up the missiles in Cuba. Kennedy was like, that's crazy. The military thought that they could survive a limited range nuclear war with Russia. That's crazy. Kennedy was right. Dr. King wanted us to all come together and hold hands and sing that, Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, free at last. But people are like, nah, I don't think it's going to work out. I don't like that. Robert Kennedy was the greatest to-be president of all time. It was a landslide in 1968. Robert Kennedy was just going to cakewalk backwards into the White House. And the world was going to be a better place for it. And guess what? Gone. And we just haven't been the same since. And then Nixon, and then here we go with all of this corruption.
And Nixon was the pivot towards criminality.
Yes. Legitimatizing criminality.
Yeah.
That criminality is on the ticket, so to speak.
And that the system will not just tolerate it, but when it is found, what we'll do is we'll just pardon it and hope it goes away.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Instead of, I just actually heard I just heard Fr3deR1cK interview a historian about a book about that and how, or I think it was about all U.S. history, but but he specifically said Nixon not going to trial was tragic for our country because it swept it under the rug instead of really facing how bad corruption can be and how bad criminality can be. We were allowed to just sort of move on,
right,
and unify. Let's
right.
unify. Let's get some unity here. Unity is an understandable impulse.
Sure,
but what it did is it left that group of people saying, if we'd only been better at the crime thing, Nixon would still be president. They literally,
all the
didn't
time.
see Nixon
Sure.
as a mistake. The mistake with Nixon was him losing power.
Sure. And they'll probably say the same things about this current administration when it starts to fall and crumble. The last thing is that I've moved over into creating a space for the documentary work, that it's more in the nonprofit sector. It's in the give section. So I have a website now. It's called the Jones Foundation, jones-foundation.org, where people are allowed to donate to some of these documentary projects that I work on in order to help support them. And so I just see documentary work now as the same way you would give to an organization that helps battered women at a shelter, being able to give to a nonprofit in order to go out and tell stories that help and assist people. And then, all the regular sites, tomorrowpictures.com, tomorrowpictures.tv, and my artist site, which is Fr3deR1cK.com. That is Frederick.com as well.
Wow, you did that well.
I know.
I haven't heard you say that before.
Oh, really?
Out loud.
It's weird.
I've only looked at it in print.
And when I'm old and doddering, it'll be the only thing I can say.
Well, those will be clickable links, right, as always.
As always. And the the folder that you just got with all the pictures in it as well. I'm pushing to do a photography show with all the photography that I've done over the years in all of these different subjects and people that I've filmed as well. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. So I'm looking for a gallery. I'm very interested either out here and many other places across the country as well to do a show. And again, tell the story, but not always necessarily in documentary form. I think there's a lot of things you can get across to people through photography to get closer to the truth. Because documentary film sometimes is just falls short or is manipulated in a way that can be a little bit frustrating and uncomfortable. So that's it. That's what I'm doing. So you can post that with you. Feel free if you feel the need to. You want to post the pictures up there with.
Oh yeah. Well, we can
with your blog. Or whatever.
I assume I can just attach a link to the PDF if you want.
That sounds great.
Because it's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
well
you.
done.
I'm very. It's the thing that I'm very most proud of.
Yeah. I can do that
right now.
I can do that. Yeah, I can do that.
Oh, awesome. Well, there you go. See, you are somebody.
Then,
you are empowered.
Well,
I
see a lot of that. Whatever. Yes. So I'll wrap it up with a little bit of news as you talked about the things here. So yes, in my little personal pivot, there's one new thing. Well, first, Frederick mentioned Film Invasion Los Angeles in June. Sherman Oaks Film Festival is every December. This year is actually the 10th anniversary for both.
That's cool.
And next year in January of 2026, there will be Film Invasion Lima, Peru.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. I like Lima. I've been to Lima.
Yeah. I have not been, but
you'll love it.
There's been filmmakers.
Ceviche. Ordered a ceviche.
A husband and wife team from Lima who have had films in the festivals twice were up here for Sherman Oaks last December, and we were having a chat, and they were like, we wish we had a community like this in Lima with indie films, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I've had someone from London talk about doing a Film Invasion, someone from the Bay Area, someone from Grand Rapids, someone from Vancouver. Like every once in a while it comes up, and it always fizzles out. And when I said to this gentleman, I trust you, I'll mentor you, you run Film Invasion Lima, and I will do what I can, and blah, 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 and guide you, and you could have this there. It's happening. They already rented the theater. We got the theater booked.
That's great.
And it's beautiful. And so
is it on Film Freeway? Can I go look it up?
Not yet, but that's one of my jobs is to put it up soon. And it's very exciting.
That's
I
awesome.
got to admit. And I got Google Flight Tracker going so I can be there. It'll be, I believe, the weekend of January 16th and 17th or 17th and 18th.
Oh, great. Right around the same time as Sundance. Way to go.
Well, Sundance, I heard, is moving.
To the dates or the location?
The location. They're either moving to more, instead of being Park City and a little bit in Salt Lake.
They're more
mostly
Salt Lake. I've heard that, yeah.
They're just going to move the whole motherfucker to Boulder, Colorado.
I've heard both.
Yeah.
I think they should go to Boulder.
I think so too.
I think they should go to Boulder.
And maybe maybe it'll be the same time either way. I don't think we'll lose many people in Lima to Sundance.
I know you won't. It'll be way better. And the weather's different because you cross the equator and you can fly Delta. I've flown to Lima before. You can fly direct to Lima.
I have my Google Flight Tracker going so I can try to go round trip for a little less. I'm going to watch that. I got 6 months before I have to buy that ticket. So I'm going to, it's cool.
You'll love it. It's great.
I'll love it. And
I had a lot of fun there. I enjoyed it.
Oh,
yeah.
Excellent. Well, I will be I'll be in Lima in January. Go for it. The one funny thing is Sherman Oaks will be December, and then 5-6 weeks later. But I don't have to run this one. I am honestly just the backup. I'm just support. It's funny because they're like, no, you got to do some Q&As. I'm like, probably not. I'm just going to sit around. I'm just going to sit around and I'll be the whatever.
Right. Are you going to do Q&As this year at Film Invasion?
Oh, yeah. But
Yeah.
last year was the first year at Sherman Oaks that we were on 2 screens. So I only did half of them, 3 screens. So, yeah, I know. I got to get people who love film. I got a couple leads. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I got to make sure the quality stays there.
Oh, yeah, totally. No, I wish you all the best. And if there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to ask.
All right, well, if I'm really up against a wall, I might ask you to be a Q&A moderator at Film Invasion in June.
I would love to. That would be great. That would be fun. That would be terrific.
I wouldn't even stick you. Of course, we don't have documentary blocks. We mix everything together, as you know.
Yeah, so that's even better. I think that's the future. Is everything is together.
It should be.
It should be too. Yeah.
Nothing I love more than a block of shorts that's just a beautiful mixture of genres.
I know, because that's how life is.
That is how it is. As much as people try to compartmentalize.
I know. Sad.
All right. Well. Frederick.
Yes.
Jeffrey. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. This is fantastic and amazing, and time flies.
Yeah, I am officially going to cut this into 2 episodes for the first time
ever.
Well, we're at 3 hours and 35 minutes.
That's insane.
That's ridiculous. Should I make it 3? Should I make it 3 1-hour 10s?
Something like that. Yeah. Well, what is it? The film Gone with the Wind, isn't that 3 hours and 20 minutes or something like that? 3 hours and 30 minutes. Something like
I can't pretend I'm not going to lie. I haven't seen it.
You've never seen that?
No.
There's so many Jews in it. I can't believe you.
My understanding is it holds up.
You're
I'm not trying to throw shade at Gone with the Wind, but
it holds up.
Does it hold up?
There are lines in it
it's a little dated.
I don't know nothing about birth and no babies. I don't think it does hold up.
I don't think it holds up.
But frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I do think that holds up.
But the Confederacy are the good guys, right?
Essentially.
Yeah.
In their
be
heart.
Interesting for me.
In their hearts, they are.
In the heart of the film is the South was good.
Well, it's Northern aggression.
The War of Northern Aggression.
Even though the Confederacy got all the way to Pennsylvania, but it's Northern aggression.
Well, so even though the Confederates fired the first shots in South Carolina.
South Carolina, Fort Sumter.
I was there. Yeah. They shot for. I really wish
How
that Lincoln
old
guy
are
had
you?
just said.
Jesus.
I'm 219.
Yeah, exactly. It's a time jumper.
I was there behind Lincoln saying,
I love the idea of this Jewish guy walking around at Fort Sumter.
I was Zelig. No, I was like, bro, Lincoln, they might have shot at us. Let's just let them leave. Let them leave. We don't need these people in our country. Let them become the CSA, and then they'll go broke.
They would have gone broke,
and then they'll beg to rejoin. They'll voluntarily give up slavery to join back.
We had the Navy. They could have just cut them off.
We didn't even have to do any. They overplayed their hand on the cotton thing and made the British plant cotton fields in Egypt, and then they had Egyptian cotton all of a sudden,
which is better.
It's fancy.
I know.
Who knew? Thanks to the waters of the Nile. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's my fantasy. Is it?
And then
is it an alternate reality where we just let the CSA go away without a shot? Just fine, leave.
Well, that's the James Carville way of dealing with these things too. Is you just let them just injure themselves and burn themselves out, and they'll finally just go away and.
And they'll come back to you and ask for your help.
Exactly. And ask for your help.
What can I do to get back in?
Exactly.
What can I do? It's not a bad strategy, right?
I think it's a good one when you're dealing with fools.
By the way, I will tell you something right after I hit stop. Thank you, sir.
You got it, my friend.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Always.
Do I need to say more? Like and subscribe. Check the show notes for clickable links for the things that Fred does and the things that I do. And again, I said it at the end of that, but I'll say it again. Thank you for listening.